And I think generally, too, we've worked on shows where we've had the whole spectrum of skin tones. And I think in that case, we tend not to make very bold choices as far as face light. So keeping it a little bit paler.
We like to stick with the lavenders.
Yeah.
If we have a wide range, we stick with lavenders. If we're doing Ain't Misbehaving and we know the cast is going to be all African American, we can be a little bit more choosy. I mean, obviously, everybody's going to have different, saturations of skin color of the same color, but we can be a little bit more particular in our color if we know they're all going to be about the same. But my first experience with the Filipino concert, I had never worked with Filipinos before, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I use? And I get to the floor, I see the singers, and I'm like, okay, I think we're going to try this color. And I went with a neutral color, which worked really well. But the next time I used Submissive Lavender, actually, as my color choice. But then the next time, we were using camera, and we had live feed. Well, that color doesn't work so well on video. It does a little bit, but you need something a little bit different. So I honestly, you know what? If you don't know, ask. I asked the cameraman, I said, you know what? I've never done film before, and I know this is HD, and I know I have to make the money look good. Really, what do you suggest, Because I had an idea in my head. I said, what works well? Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I know a lot of times we think, oh, we have to know all the answers. It's okay to ask questions. And it worked. And then the next time I did it, I used that color that I used, which was, it was a pinkish color. And then from there, I put in another color so I could experiment with that one as well. And so now I have a range of colors that I can use when I get into that situation. But it was a great learning experience. But I was able to build on things just by asking that one question.
And one other thing about a little bit different part of that is we've all heard that lighting, when there's a wrong color on stage, maybe the set's painted wrong or a costume's wrong, lighting is always the last one. It's cheapest to change out a system of gels than to change all costumes and everything. But we were doing Mikado one time. We had gone through 3 days of tech, and then finally for final dress, they put makeup on, and the actors or the singers just completely disappeared. It's like someone was running the Grand Master at 60%. And we couldn't figure out why for like 10 minutes. Finally, we realized it was the makeup. So makeup is one thing that can be changed even after the gels. And that's something, we've been in situations where there's one actor on stage that's darker than everywhere else, and he might be in the hot spot and still be half as bright as everyone else on stage.
We tend to call him light suck.
Yes, and that's, hopefully that's just an easy fix with makeup. And yes, it's nice if we can change gels, but it doesn't always work where, maybe that one person has completely different makeup from everyone else.
How do you approach a director about additive color mixing problems when you have your gels or adding pigments to your scenery or makeup pigments that didn't previously exist?
In other words, how do you approach them that scene paint color may not be as red as it was before because you're adding to it?
Or that an actor had makeup applied or applied their own makeup. You mix certain blues with certain rouges and makeups, and you turn out gray. How do you approach your director or makeup artist or scenic artist about the change that may need to occur?
Anybody?
I think for us, hopefully it's not our mistake. And if it is, we're going to, as quietly as possible, change our gels and go, oh, that may not have been the best color choice. Usually, though, especially if it's in the case of makeup, typically if it's just kind of natural makeup or what's supposed to be natural, it's going to be the costume designer, makeup designer went a little bit stronger than you were expecting, and then we've just politely asked them, hey, it's a little bit different than what we've seen the last couple of days through tech. Do you think you can lighten it up a little bit? And usually they have no problem with that.
But if it's something, the scenic designer, and you've been working all the time, you know, it might be just you picked the wrong color, you know, and what you thought was going to work doesn't, and then you need to make the decision, are you going to change that color? Are you going to deal with the color? You know, hopefully it won't be the artistic director coming to you and saying, you know, what's going on. So it's one of those things, you know, you are making a color choice, and you need to be prepared. You need to do your research and make sure you know what colors go with what.
That's a great. We're running out of time. The key is color testing, knowing what the color is going to do, having a pretty good idea of what your palette, how it's going to mix with each other. Do the homework. I always use a finger paint with the color. Sitting around, use a swatch book, look at it. If you have your mag light, look at what the color's doing. If you see an odd color on the wall, I wonder how I would light that wall. The more homework you do, the more research. I don't care how many years you're into the business, the more homework you do, the better you're going to be as a designer. Color is something that's incredibly tricky, but also incredibly effective if it's used properly. It can make or break a performance. So it's something that, and you do have the control of playing with it. Be passionate about color. This is wonderful stuff. I want to thank the panelists, Michael, Lisa, John, and Kevin, and for participating. I'd like to thank Rich Dale for doing the video and the slides. Thank you very much. And we'll be in the booth, the Apollo booth 600. If you have any questions, you want to come on by and talk to us, or you'll see us around on the floor. Thank you so much for coming.